So let's start another phase of the compilation process, which is our semantic analysis. Now we have seen from the starting compilation process, we have taken the source code. The compiler takes the source code, passes it to the lexical analyzer, which in returns give us the tokens, which are being passed to the syntax analyzer. And syntax analyzer uses CFGs, right? And it returns us as the parse tree. Now, in addition of these tokens in the parse tree, it also generates lexical. It also returns us L errors, lexical errors, and it gives us syntax errors. Right? If any, right? And these two are being passed to the error handler, which contains the information of what kind of error message needs to be generated to the user, right? And in addition, also it is being connected to the symbol table, right, which contains information about the symbols being used in the compilation process, or we can better say in the programming language. The symbol table is nothing but a simple table which contains the information like serial number, type of symbol, right, size of symbol, information about linked list and all. So let's say if it is type in size 4, and let's say it's static. Let's say it's second, I'm using a pointer, integer pointer, which is of 8 byte, and it's a little dynamic. These kind of information is there. Now these, after being passed to the lexical analyzer and the syntax analyzer, now we are moving towards the semantic analysis phase. Right? Now the parse tree is being passed to the semantic analysis. Now let's try to understand. Here we know that the lexical analyzer checks what? If we talk about in normal natural language, lexical errors are nothing but checking what kind of errors? Spelling mistakes, right? Checking spellings. Syntax analyzers checks what? It checks the syntax of the sentence. It's checking syntax, right? If you talk about a normal natural language, what semantic analyzer is going to do? The semantic analyzer is going to check the semantics of the sentence. Checking the semantics of the sentence. Checking the semantics of the sentence. Now, what semantics means? Semantics literal meaning is mean. Right? So we are going to check whether any given sentence has any meaning or not, or it is just meaningless sentence. Right? So before going for syntax analyzer, let's try to understand what kind of errors a programming language is going to generate if there is semantics is violated, or semantic is not proper in the programming language. Right? So let's see an example. So consider this example: main opening bracket followed by opening closing bracket followed by a curly bracket. Now I am declaring a variable as int a comma b followed by a semicolon, that is c equals to a plus b semicolon followed by a curly or closing curly bracket. Now as you can clearly see here, this variable c is being used, and which is undeclared, right? So when c is undeclared, it is going to throw an error, and which is going to return me an error as undeclared variable. Right? In also also we can clearly verify that the whole program in here is both lexically correct and syntactically correct. And in here main is being lexically correct. This whole sentence here, main followed by opening and closing bracket, is syntactically correct. These opening and closing bracket are verifying syntax of the main program, right? Int a comma b followed by a semicolon. You can clearly see it is being verified lexically and syntactically, but here the C is not being declared, right? So that's why it is going to generate a semantic errors. Take another example. Let's say I'm writing name and I'm using int a comma b followed by semicolon, character C comma a. Right? And suppose if I'm writing d equals to a plus c. Right? As you can clearly see now here also, it doesn't have any lexical errors, it doesn't have any syntactical errors. But in this statement, as we can clearly see, we are trying to add two different types of data types and trying to assign them to a different type of data type, right? So these type of errors are coming into the semantic errors, and basically this type of errors is known as type violation. They are violating the type violation properties of a addition or subtraction or multiplication, whatever there are, and can be in many. It can be in any form: addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Right? So these type of errors comes into the category of the semantic analysis. There are many other semantic errors, as you can see in the handouts which are given to you. Right? Now we will try to understand how we are going to verify these kind of errors in the programming language. Right? Given a programming language, how we can verify these type of semantic errors. As we know that syntax, for verifying the syntax analyzer, we are using different kind of parsers, right? Like top-down parsers, bottom-up parsers, right? And finally, we end up using LR1 parser, which is being the most powerful parsers of all, right? Now, for verifying the syntax of the grammar, we are using LR parsers, right? And as we know that LR parsers, the bottom-up parsers, are using CFGs, right? But CFGs are not sufficient to verify the semantics of a programming language. Right? For verifying the semantics of a programming language, we need to use CSVs. As we can clearly see, this means what? Context free. Right? This here, these type of grammars are means what? Context sensitive. We should be aware of what we are going to write in a context. So I have given many kind of example. I am giving you one example, that example again. So if a sentence SCM, if it is the grammar SCM, which will be followed, giving the subject followed by say helping verb HV, right? Followed by the verb and followed by the object, right? S subject can be he, she, they. Helping verb can be is your verb can be what? Eating, going, sleeping. The object can be TV, car, apple. Okay? So let's suppose this is one of your grammar. And as you can clearly see, this what kind of grammar it is? It is a context-free grammar, right? Here, as we know that how we try to know that it's a context-free grammar is a simple rule which verifies that alpha gives you beta, where the signs of alpha is equals to 1. Right? So it simply means that the left-hand side of the part of the prediction is always going to contain only one non-terminal, right, or one variable. On the right-hand side, it can be anything. Now, if we try to make sentence out of these, right? If we try to make sentence of the context-free grammar, see what kind of result you are going to get. So, if I try to make a sentence, let's say if I take H, if alphabetic S and then SEN, and the sentence is going to be converted to subject, helping verb, and object. Now I'm replacing the subject with he. I'm replacing the helping verb with say is. I'm replacing this verb with say going, right? And let's say I'm replacing this object with anchor. Now as you can clearly see, the syntax of the sentence, the syntax of the whole sentence is correct, right? He is followed by the verb, helping verb is followed by a verb, is followed by an object, right? This is what syntactically a sentence should be. But if you try to check the meaning of the sentence, he is going active, does it make any meaning? No, it doesn't make any meaning, right? That means what? It's semantically it is not correct, right? So how we are going to embed or verify the semantics of these sentences, right? If we try to check it through the CFGs, it will say it's okay, right? But for as we know that it's not the right sentence, needs to generate an error, right? As you see that if we are not going to declare a variable before its use, it needs to generate an error saying that it's an undeclared variable. Or if you try to use if you try to add any two different kind of data types, right, and then it's going to generate you an error. And let's try to understand how we are going to implement semantics in a programming language or into a compiler, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to use CFG, right? Syntax context sensitive languages for verifying the semantics of a programming language, or to simply implement the semantic analyzer of a compiler, right? But as you know that what are our CFGs? Our CFGs are nothing but alpha give beta, where alpha comma beta both are part of a variable, all terminal the plus, right? Or better say not plus, say alpha is your this and beta is your alpha plus beta ka star, right? So another one more condition is there, which say the length of the left hand side part of the production should be lesser than or equals to the right hand side production, right? Now this actually, why are we using this? This actually guarantees the context of the grammar, or the context of the of sentence should be replaced in the proper order as we follow, right? As we have seen in theory of computation, right? So we will see this later on. Now implementing these type of grammars into a compilation process, or implementing these type of grammars into a compiler is very difficult, or it still is unknown how to implement these kind of language, these kind of grammars into the compilation process. So we don't have any algorithm or any proper algorithms for implementing context sensitive grammar. So if you want to go for a research, you can go for this, like try to how to implement CSGs into compilation process in real time. Like people have given algorithms, right? People have given algorithms for implementing this also into the compilation process, but those algorithms are not working in real time. That means those all algorithms are NP hard problems or NPC problems, right? So if you can find any proper algorithm which can work in the real time, you can implement the direct CFGs, these kind of CFGs into the compiling process. But what we use, actually we use CFGs only because CSGs only because as we know that CFGs are the subset of CSGs, right? So if I'm using a CFG, I can clearly say that I'm using a CSG. So what kind of CSGs we use is is attributed grammar. Attributed grammar. Or we can clearly say, or we can say attributed CSGs. What attributed means? So attributes are nothing. Attributes are nothing but simply a little information about the non-terminals of the grammar. Right? We will see once we come to an examples. We'll understand better what an attribute is. Attribute means here. Right? So let's take an example for understanding this thing. I can work on the problem of finding CFGs to implement, finding an algorithm for CFGs. This example, I'm writing here CFG, which is being used for computing expressions which contains only two operators, addition and multiplication. Now I'm writing this. Right. Now after writing this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add attribute information into this grammar. And what attribute information means is that I'm going to use this ID value because I'm going to need this ID value. Let's say suppose I want to compute the information of an expression. Let's say I've written an expression which is 2 plus 3 into 5. And at last I want the answer of this, right? So how I'm going to use, what I'm going to use is the attribute information. So what I'm going to use is id.lex value. So what this is going to return me is, the proper lex value of this identifier, right? Let's say if it is the lex value of identifier here is 2, then it is going to return me 2. And here if it is 3, it is going to return me 3, right? So now this lex value is nothing but attribute information which I am using regarding this identifier. Now if I am using this here, let's say I am using f value, attribute as well. Well means nothing, is a value. This can be anything. You can use as a v or a p or anything. It's just a name, right? So why I'm using it here? To have certain kind of information which is going to be needed for the further computation, right? So this add value is being recorded as id.lex value, or you can simply not need to write it here. You can just simply write it here as id.lex value. So whatever the value of this identifier here is going to be transferred to the f here, right? So it is going to be stored in f value. Now in here what I am going to use is, I need to transfer whatever the value of this here is going to be transferred into this t. So simply I am writing t val is equals to f val. In here what I need to do is, I need to compute this, right? So in here what I am going to be I'm going to use a simple marker here, the t1, to differentiate between the left hand side and the right hand side t's, right? Both are the same t's here, but these are the different instances, right? A t at the upper level of the tree, and this t is a lower level of the tree. And if you're going to construct your parse tree, right, this t is being divided, going to form to 3 kinds of nodes, which are going to be your t1, n2 and f, right? And the upper one is going to be your t. So the upper t is going to have a value t val, which is going to be t1 dot val into f val. So whatever these two values are going to be multiplied and then going to be computed to the T well, the upper T, right? Now this is going to be E well is equals to T well. Now same for here. E well equals to, now I am again going to use E1 here, just to differentiate two instances of E plus T. So the computation is simpler here. I am just introducing the concept of the attribute, right? So what kind of attribute I am using here is a well, which has been associated with E, which has been associated with T, which has been also been associated with the F, right? So all three non-terminals here are being associated with a single attribute, which is known as your value. Let's say this is just being used for computing the values of a given expression, right? So how this is going to be computed is simply when I'm going to use my bottom up parser, right? This is just to introduce you to the concept of attribute. You will see different what this means, right? And how the other kind of information are going to be used. In here it is just trying to evaluate a value, right? So if I want to implement 2 plus 3 into 5, so what I'm going to use is E gives me E plus T, right? This T is going to be as T, and this T is going to be as F, and this F is going to be as ID. Now this T is going to be as T into F, and this T is going to be as F, and this T is going to be as ID, and this F is going to be as ID. Now this ID is going to have written here value 2, this ID is going to give me as value 3, and this ID is going to give me as value 5. Now as we know the bottom of parser, what it does, it goes till down depth first search. For this thing, when this comes, what it is going to return you? It is going to return this 2 value, the Lex value, to which this F. Now this F value is going to contain what? S2. Now it will come outside, and here it will going to follow this T value. This T value is going to be containing 2. Now again this E val is going to contain 2. Now again the process is going to repeat here. This is going to contain F val is going to contain 3. This T val is going to contain 3. This ID Lex value F is going to contain, F val is going to contain 5. And this F val is going to contain 5. 3 into 5. The production here is going to T val. This T val is going to contain 3 into 5 is 15. Now this E val plus T val, E val plus T val is going to contain E value, that is going to be 17. And this E val here will be calculated as 17. This is what we need to calculate from here. So these kind of associated rules are going to be implemented or added to your CFGs, right, for calculating or for implementing the semantics into the program. So here this is just for example of understanding the attribute, right? So an attribute can be anything, a value, right? Here we are just using as a value because I need to compute the value of the expression. I can use a type for verifying the types of integers, or say other boolean or character or other kind of information I can use, right? So let's take an example of let's take another example where we will verify data types of different variables, right? So I am using a variable which says E plus E. Second E says E equals to E. The third E says E is integer. The fourth E says E is true. The fifth E says E is false. So in here I have used two kinds of productions. Here the first production is being used for addition, the second production is used for comparison, right? So if I try to compare integer with true or boolean value, it should not be working properly, right? So how to implement these kind of information in this grammar? What we are going to use here is I'm going to implement semantic rules. So these are known as what? These information here which we use is known as semantic rules, right? So in here I know that this E type is nothing but bool or boolean, right? So simply I am writing bool because I am going to need it further, right? So here again this E type is also what is your bool, because I need this type information for further process. If these type are not matching, then I have to generate an error message. In here this E type is what? This E type is your integer, right? Now here I need to check this information, so I am using a boolean bracket here also. So what I am going to use here is if condition, which is going to verify, and now I am going to differentiate these instances of E. Same here I am going to do to differentiate these instances of E. Right? Now E1, if E1 dot type is equals to E2 dot type, right? And E1 dot type is equals to bool, right? Then E type should be what? Your bool. Else what should it be doing? It should be returning you as an error, printf error. Right? The same what we are doing here, we are verifying that the type of E1 should be equal to the type of E2, and if the type is boolean, I am assigning the type as boolean. Now here what I am going to do is verifying if E1 type is equals to integer, or if E1 type is equals to E2 type, and E1 type is equals to integer, what I am going to write here is then E type is equals to integer, else printf error. So pardon me for this smaller size of code. Just stay on with me on this. If you have any problem reading this, you can just stop the video and zoom the screen. You can clearly check. If you still have doubt, you can message me. So in here, now we have seen a little type of things, that what kind of attribute information I am using here is a type information, right? So I am assigning the types of variables, right? And these type of rules are known as semantic rules, and we are going to use these semantic rules into a CFG. So you can clearly see this is the only part of CFG, right? But this part which is being implemented here is being executed with the same production. Like if this is, the reduce action, right? So whenever this is going to be reduced, this action is going to be performed simultaneously, right? So whenever this is going to be reduced to this is going to be performed first. So this is going to be checked first whether this rule is verified or not. If this rule is not verified or whatever is there, then it is going to either print an error message, or if it is right, then it's going to continue. Right, so this is kind of information. Now we will see different part of our attribute grammars, where we will try to understand what kind of attributes and how the information flow or the dependencies of the variables or non-terminals.